Morning.
Hi.
How did it go in court yesterday?
Oh, I'm not sure. Our turn to be cross-examined today. Kathy obviously found it an ordeal.
She's got more questions from the other barristers today.
For a while I thought she was going to crack, which would have suited Steve's case, but, well, she seems to be getting through it.
And you're going to do even better.
I don't know. There's a lot of people who'd like to see me in prison.
I hope I can expect a bit more from you today. You've hardly said a word so far. You've let the others make all the running.
I shouldn't need to remind you, we're not disputing the theft. I'll have plenty to say when it can really help your case.
Just as long as you make sure Kim goes down too.
My job is to ensure that you get the most lenient sentence possible, which ought to be your priority.
What, after what she's trying to do to me?
All we have to do is present the facts, Mr. Marchant. If we do that effectively, then we can rely on the jury to take care of your wife. Now, are you ready to start? I remind you that you are still under oath, and apologize for the need to take you through the events of that night again. I realize it was a traumatic experience for you, one from which you may not yet have fully recovered. But your evidence is crucial to the outcome of this case. Only you and my client know what happened on that road on that night. Now, he's admitted that he was engaged in theft at Home Farm. About that, there is no dispute. But he will tell this court that he was not even aware of the possibility that he had hit you until he was informed that you were in hospital some hours later. You were in an emotional state that night, Mrs. Glover. After your aborted evening with Mr. Fowler, the disagreement with the taxi driver, it was dark, things happened very quickly. Is it not possible that you might have misread my client's actions?
I know what I saw. He drove straight at me.
You were in a coma for some time after the accident.
Yes, that's right.
But I believe you chose to discharge yourself against medical advice.
Yes.
And you've since found it necessary to seek counseling.
Objection, Your Honor. Mrs. Glover's medical treatment is not relevant.
Overruled. Her mental state is clearly pertinent to the evidence. You may proceed, Mr. Keating.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mrs. Glover, I'm sure you have the sympathy of everyone in this court. But I must ask you, after your traumatic experience and subsequent psychological problems, can you really be sure, beyond reasonable doubt, that my client deliberately drove at you that night? Or is it not more likely that your injuries were the result of a tragic accident, one that my client regrets as much as you do?
He saw me, and he drove straight at me.
You've told the court how you and your wife planned the theft and subsequent insurance fraud. But let us concentrate for a moment on the events leading up to Mrs. Glover's injuries. Now, clearly, the theft was an operation that required split-second timing.
Absolutely. Kim had planned it all meticulously. And everything seemed to be going to plan until just after I left Home Farm, when my mobile rang. I knew it was Kim. Her name came up on the display, so I realized there must be something wrong.
So you were in a state of some panic when you answered the call?
Well, I was concerned, yes. She filled me in on the conversation with Reverend Thomas so I could pretend to have been present all along. Kim was very thorough over that type of detail.
But there was another problem she hadn't allowed for.
Yes, though I didn't realize it at the time. I was distracted by the phone call, and I hit something. I thought it was a deer.
But you later found out this wasn't the case.
When I heard about what had happened to Kathy, I realized I must have accidentally hit her.
And what were your feelings when you learned this?
I was devastated. Kathy's a neighbor, a friend. I would never knowingly do anything to harm her.
Some people may attempt to cast doubt upon your remorse. You freely admitted to 2 crimes, and they may suggest that this accident was not an accident at all, but a deliberate attempt to silence a witness.
Well, that's not true. As far as I was concerned, this was all about money. I never wanted anyone to get hurt.
In a vehicle before?
Yes.
But you don't have a record for mowing down innocent pedestrians?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained. Please stick to the case in hand, Miss Sharp.
I will rephrase the question, Your Honor. Why do you expect the jury to believe that a simple phone call caused you to drive dangerously?
I was on edge. The call distracted me.
But you were aware that you had hit something or someone.
I thought I'd hit a deer.
A deer. That's a large animal, which would suggest a large impact. Most people would stop and investigate. Why didn't you?
Kim told me to hurry back, or we'd be found out.
So you were too busy trying to save your own skin to stop and check what or who you had hit. I put it to you, Mr. Marchant. You were perfectly aware that you'd hit Mrs. Glover.
No.
Indeed, it was your intention to run her over.
That's not true.
But you're not denying that you and Mrs. Glover were the only people on that road that night?
No.
Or that you were driving a stolen vehicle away from the scene of the crime when you saw Mrs. Glover?
I didn't see her.
But she saw you. Indeed, later she was able to identify you, which spoiled all that careful planning. Now, isn't that what was going through your mind as you drove at her?
I didn't drive at her. I didn't see her.
I put it to you, Mr. Marchant. The only genuine remorse you feel is that Mrs. Glover survived her injuries. Since if you had succeeded in killing her, this case might never have come to court.
That's not true. It was an accident.
I have here a transcript of a taped interview at Houghton Police Station, in which you state that the theft was both planned and executed by you, and you alone. Your wife was not involved in any way. I take it you don't deny this account was freely given?
No.
But you subsequently gave another account, in which you tried to shift the blame onto Mrs. Marchant, and you now insist that that is the truth.
Yes.
So this is a tissue of lies.
Objection, Your Honor.
Overruled. The defendant has admitted that the account was untrue.
You're very good at lying, Mr. Marchant, as those who suffered from your financial dealings could testify. Why should the jury believe one word you utter in this court?
I'd agreed to take the rap for Kim. That's why I told the police I was acting alone. It was only when I realized she was selling me out that I changed my story.
Shortly after your wife started divorce proceedings against you. What prompted this startling U-turn? The news of the divorce, or the person who brought it? Whilst on remand, you were visited on a number of occasions by Mr. Christopher Tate, which in itself is surprising, since in the past you'd not got on well. But I believe it was he who informed you of your wife's intention to start divorce proceedings.
Yes.
What else did you find to discuss during these visits?
I really don't recall.
Did you discuss this case?
We may have.
Did you, in fact, concoct a story between you in an attempt to get your wife into the dock?
Objection, Your Honor. These allegations are mere conjecture. Mr. Tate is not on trial here.
Mr. Derbyshire?
Your Honor, I intend to call Mr. Tate to the stand. He will have the opportunity to describe these meetings. But it is our contention that he and Mr. Marchant concocted evidence against my client.
Objection overruled. You will answer the question, Mr. Marchant.
Yes. We discussed the case because we both know she's as guilty of the theft as I am. If anyone deserves to be locked up, it's her.
So, you and Mrs. Marchant were both under the impression that Mr. Marchant had been up there in the bedroom all along?
Yes. I know it seems odd him behaving like that when he had a dinner guest, but Kim was used to it.
How long was she out of the room?
A few seconds.
So, apart from then, Mrs. Marchant was with you all evening?
Yes.
Thank you, Miss Tate. No further questions. And stay there, please.
You say that Mrs. Marchant was with you all evening, and yet the Reverend Thomas recalls her leaving the room to take the rubbish out.
She may have done, I don't recall.
You don't recall. No doubt it was a very pleasant evening. A good meal, some wine, perhaps?
Yes.
How much wine was consumed over this meal, Miss Tate?
A couple of bottles, I think.
Between you and Mrs. Marchant. So you probably drank about a bottle yourself.
Yes, I didn't have to drive. It's a short walk home, and we were enjoying the evening.
I'm not criticizing your drinking habits, Miss Tate. But the jury may like to note that the Reverend Thomas was sober at this point. So his recollections of the evening are probably more accurate than yours.
Mr. Tate, you were managing director of Home Farm Estates.
That is correct.
But Home Farm Stud, though on the same site, is not part of that organization. You had no responsibility for it.
That is also correct.
Yet you've taken an extremely active interest in this case from the start.
I was shocked by what had happened. I wanted to see the culprits brought to justice.
Very public-spirited of you. You paid numerous visits to Houghton Police Station to expound your theories on the crime.
Well, they were getting nowhere. I was trying to help.
You accused Mrs. Marchant and her husband on several occasions.
I was proved right, wasn't I?
About him, yes. But I'm happy to leave it to the jury to decide about Mrs. Marchant. It's not the first time you've accused Mrs. Marchant of a serious crime, is it? Nor is it the first time that you have decided that the police weren't getting anywhere. You felt they didn't investigate your father's death properly.
They still haven't. He was murdered.
And on several occasions, you have publicly accused Mrs. Marchant of killing him.
I know she did it.
Even though 2 doctors certified that your father died of a heart attack, and Mrs. Marchant wasn't even in the country at the time.
You don't know how cunning she is. She fooled everyone except me.
The truth is, you're not interested in justice, Mr. Tate. Just your own vendetta against Mrs. Marchant.
I want to see her pay for her crimes. That is what justice is about, isn't it?
So, you kept visiting Mr. Marchant, trying to find some way of getting him to give evidence against his wife.
I was doing a public service, helping the truth come out.
Was that why you told Mr. Marchant his wife was planning to divorce him?
He had a right to know.
I suspect it was less to do with his rights and more to do with an attempt to drive a wedge between him and his wife so that he would help you to try to bring her down. You don't deny, do you, that you and Mr. Marchant spent hours discussing this case during these visits? You were desperate to find any shred of evidence against her.
I found evidence. That mobile phone bill proves she called him.
It proves the phone was in use, not who was using it. But then, little facts like that don't seem to matter to you, do they, Mr. Tate?
How can you say that? I've spent weeks assembling evidence for this case.
And you've spent years following an obsession. You've hated Mrs. Marchant since her marriage to your father.
With good reason. She killed him.
No, Mr. Tate. Those accusations have been proved false, just as these will be.
You've got to listen to me.
I think the jury has heard more than enough from you by now, Mr. Tate.
She can't get away with it again.
No further questions, thank you, Mr. Tate. Your witness, Mr. Keating. Did you and your husband entertain often?
Not since Steve's business went down. We don't have money for lavish dinner parties anymore. That's why I was pleased when he suggested inviting Zoe over.
So this dinner was your husband's idea?
Yes.
Did it not strike you strange, therefore, when he chose to spend most of the evening upstairs?
I suppose it should have done, but I'd got used to it. Steve's always been very secretive about his business calls.
Some people might think you should have learned a lesson from that when he lost all your money.
He promised to make up for what he'd done. I guess I wanted to believe him. I wanted the marriage to work.
Why then did you decide to start divorce proceedings?
When I realized what he was involved in, not just stealing from me, but nearly killing Kathy, I saw that he lied to me all along. He was never going to change. There was no hope for us as a couple.
I'm sure the jury can see that you made every effort to make your marriage work. Why did you not tell your husband you were planning to divorce him?
Well, I was going to, but I wanted to talk the matter over with my solicitor first.
By which time, Christopher Tate had already told him. Did that surprise you?
Not at all. Chris has always done anything he can to hurt me.
Including accusing you of murder.
The police proved I was innocent of that. I hope the jury can see that these charges are just as ridiculous.
Why do you think Mr. Tate persists in making these allegations?
Frank, Chris's father, was a self-made man, a millionaire. Chris idolized him, wanted to follow in his footsteps, but Frank never thought he was up to it. In fact, he told me he despised him.
Well, that's not true. He'd have never have said that.
Mr. Tate, you must not interrupt these proceedings. Please continue, Mrs. Marchant.
Thank you, Your Honor. When Frank turned to me to help run Home Farm, Chris couldn't take it. He had to pretend that I was plotting against him. Frank leaving me the business in his will was the final straw for him.
This is lies, all lies!
I will not tolerate these outbursts in my court.
But she murdered him!
Remove that man!
Now she's making fools out of all of you. You can't let her get away with it!
Sorry I can't stay in court today. We're just run off our feet at the practice. It wouldn't be fair on Paddy.
Don't worry about it.
Well, look on the bright side. Could all be over by the end of today.
That's what I'm afraid of.
Oh, come on, Kim. You know as well as I do, the jury aren't going to find you guilty. Chris practically demolished the case against you single-handed after his little outburst yesterday.
I hope you're right.
I know I am.
Evidence given by Miss Dixon earlier in the trial. She said that she obtained Orsino from your husband at midday on September the 15th.
Yes.
What were you doing at that time?
Exercising the horses.
So why didn't you notice that Orsino was missing?
I think Steve's already said he switched the horses. He put a white daub on Toby's forehead to make him look like Orsino.
But surely you still would have noticed that a horse was missing.
I don't exercise them all at once. So if he timed the switch right, then no.
And in the evening? You checked all the horses yourself, didn't you?
I did.
So why didn't you notice that Toby had been moved? If Orsino had been stolen at lunchtime, there would have been one empty stall, whatever swapping about had been done.
Toby's one of the stable horses, and not nearly as valuable or as important as the stud horses. So checking them at night isn't an exact science. You look down a line of stalls, you can't necessarily see every one.
Really? That's a bit slapdash, isn't it?
I didn't look closer because I had no reason to think that anything was wrong.
Or because you knew Toby wasn't there?
No. Do you think a minute goes by when I don't wish I hadn't looked down that line of stalls and seen that Toby had gone? If I had done that, then Steve's whole plan would have been blown apart and Kathy would never...
Are you all right, Mrs. Marchant?
Yes. Yes, I'm fine. I did not steal Orsino. But that doesn't mean I don't feel responsible for what happened to Kathy Glover.
I'm sure we're all deeply touched by that heartwarming display of social conscience, Mrs. Marchant.
Your Honor, really, the prosecution is attempting to ridicule my client.
Please confine yourself to your cross-examination, Miss Sharp.
Your Honor. So, as far as you were concerned, Orsino was safely in his stall. Except that it wasn't Orsino, it was Toby.
That's right.
I would like you to take a look at these photographs, Mrs. Marchant. Exhibits D and E, Your Honor. Can you identify the horses in these pictures, Mrs. Marchant?
Yes, this is Orsino and this is Toby.
Oh, so no problem telling them apart?
No, of course not. For a start, I know both these photographs. They're from our brochure. If I look at them closely like this, well, the difference is obvious. But on a busy day, going about my routine, well, it's a different matter.
Really? Are you seriously asking us to believe that you couldn't tell a £300,000 thoroughbred from a nag?
Toby's not a nag. He's a hunter, part thoroughbred. Both horses are over 15 hands, and they're both brown. He was disguised. He was in the right stable at the right time. I wasn't looking for an imposter. My mind was on other things.
How long have you been working with horses, Mrs. Marchant?
We've had stables at Home Farm for about 10 years.
Oh, but you were working with horses before that.
Since I was a girl.
So, 20 years, more?
Yes.
And you can't tell two horses apart. That's not a very good advertisement for your equestrian expertise.
Look, we don't even know if the horses were swapped. We've only got Dixon's word for it, and she's a self-confessed crook.
Please answer the question, Mrs. Marchant.
If the horses were swapped, I didn't spot it. I don't know why. I wish I did. There's nothing else to say.
All right. Let's talk about what happened that night. Look at this, please. Exhibit F, Your Honor. Can you identify that document?
It's my phone bill.
Your mobile phone?
Yes.
Look at the highlighted call halfway down the page. 9:50 p.m. on September the 15th, 1998. Do you recognize the number?
Steve's mobile.
Why did you call him?
I didn't.
No?
As far as I knew, he was in the bedroom making business calls. I was enjoying a quiet evening in with Zoe Tate.
When the Reverend Thomas came round to ask about the fun run?
That's right.
He had a question for Mr. Marchant.
Yes, I shouted it through the door. I didn't want to disturb Steve. I knew he'd be angry if I went in.
So who did call Mr. Marchant on your mobile?
Actually, I've thought about this.
Really?
Yes, you see, Steve's number is preset into the keypad. James was still up. He was playing downstairs. So he could quite easily have picked it up and pressed the button. It's happened before.
How old is James?
2.
Oh, he's a bright chap.
I like to think so.
So bright he was able to tell your husband all about the fun run.
I beg your pardon?
Well, by his own admission, Mr. Marchant wasn't in the bedroom when you called to him about the fun run. And yet, according to the Reverend Thomas, your husband was able to answer his query, unprompted, when he finally returned to the house. Now, how do you think he managed that?
I don't know.
Pardon?
I said I don't know. Perhaps he heard us talking when he came down the stairs. Or maybe the vicar did ask him the question again. I don't know how Ashley can be so sure he didn't.
Are you saying that the Reverend was lying?
No, but I can't remember, not definitely. It was a trivial conversation.
I have a different explanation. I suggest that when the Reverend came round, you panicked. You shouted the question through the door to play for time, fully aware that at that very moment your husband was miles away.
No.
Now, you had to pretend that he was there because this was your alibi. You'd sent him out to fake the horse theft at a time when Zoe Tate would be an alibi for both of you.
That's not true.
You realized your mistake. And on the pretext of taking out the rubbish, you quickly phoned Mr. Marchant to make sure that he knew what to say when he got back.
This is a fantasy.
Then how did he know, Mrs. Marchant? How did he know?
Really, Your Honor, the prosecution is browbeating my client. Mrs. Marchant has already answered the question.
Do you wish to add to your previous answer?
No, Your Honor.
You don't have a plausible alternative explanation? Because there isn't one. It was a brilliant plan.
I've told you, I don't know anything about it.
Except it all went wrong when your husband ran Kathy Glover down in cold blood. You couldn't trust him anymore, could you? He was a liability. You'd used him to do all your dirty work, and now he'd outgrown his usefulness. You set him up, didn't you, Mrs. Marchant?
No.
Or perhaps you just got too greedy. You wanted all the money for yourself.
No, that's not true. None of this is true.
Thank you, Mrs. Marchant. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
What's going on?
Did you find her?
I don't know where she's gone, Betty.
Well, she must be somewhere. Did you have a word with one of the ushers?
Shush, I think we're going to start again.
I have received a request from Mr. Marchant's defence counsel that he should be allowed to re-examine Mrs. Glover. I have noted the objections from Mr. Derbyshire, but in the interests of justice and a fair trial for all parties, I have decided that this new testimony must be heard. Please bring Mrs. Glover to the stand.
Mrs. Glover, you understand that you are still under oath?
Yes, I do.
Good. So please tell the court what it is you want to say.
Yesterday, when I said that I had seen Steve, Mr. Marchant, behind the wheel before he hit me, well, I don't know if that's true or not.
Surely either it is or it isn't.
A few hours after I came out the coma, it must have been the middle of the night, I was still pretty dazed. I had a visit from Kim Marchant.
On her own?
Yes. She was very upset. She told me that it was Steve who had run me over. She said that he told her he'd done it deliberately and that I'd seen him, called out his name.
But you don't actually remember this yourself?
When I think back, I can see Steve behind the wheel, driving straight at me. I can see him clearly, the expression on his face. But I know that before Kim's visit, that memory wasn't there.
She planted it?
Not necessarily. I don't know. It's all such a blur. I don't know what I remember. But I suppose, if I'm really honest, it could have been anyone driving that car.
Yes.
So, Mrs. Glover, when you gave your original testimony, you were lying.
No. When Kim told me what had happened, or her version of what had happened, I just assumed it was true. It was like it became my own memory. I was confused.
You were confused?
I don't mean it like that. Kim told me she was afraid of Steve, that he was violent. She said she was scared he might hurt her, so when I told the police that I'd seen him, I thought I was doing the right thing.
Really? Yesterday, when Mr. Keating was feeling a little less enthusiastic about your testimony, he went to great pains to remind the court that since the incident, you've been seeing a psychologist on a regular basis. And why exactly did you start this treatment?
It's nothing unusual. Anyone with an injury...
No mood swings, panic attacks, short-term memory loss, nothing like that?
Yes, but...
So either you are psychologically unfit to give evidence, or you're a perjurer. Which is it to be?
Objection, Your Honour. These are just personal insults.
Mr. Derbyshire.
No, it's all right. I admit it's not been easy recovering from this head injury. But I swear to you, I clearly remember Kim's visit.
Oh, yes?
Yes, but I'm not sure about the accident. The doctor told me things would come back slowly, bit by bit, so maybe Kim just helped things along, helped trigger a real memory. But maybe she planted it. Maybe she was just telling me what to say. The thing is, I don't trust her anymore. I think she used me.
Game over, Kim.
I must ask you to remember that Stephen Marchant has pleaded guilty to all charges relating to the theft of Orsino. It is only left for you to decide whether he did or did not attempt to murder Kathy Glover. As for Kim Marchant, you must ask yourselves whether or not you believe that she was a victim of her husband's machinations. Could he have planned and executed such a complex operation, living under the same roof, without her knowledge and complicity? If you believe that he could, then you must acquit Kim Marchant. If you don't, then you must convict. You will now retire to consider your verdict. However, due to the lateness of the hour, deliberations will not begin until tomorrow morning, so I'm afraid you'll have to spend the night in a hotel. Thank you.
All stand.
You finished, Kim? Even you can't snake your way out of this one.
Kim, I think we should have a serious chat before you go off.
Not now.
Oh, I'm sorry I'm late.
Leave me alone.
What's happened?
Make sure she doesn't do anything stupid.
Kim, wait.
Thank God. I've been looking everywhere for you. Laura's got her answer phone. I went round to Kathy's, but she's not answering the door. What happened in court today, Kim?
I don't want to talk about it.
Well, your barrister said something worrying. I guess there must have been some sort of setback.
So they're going to put me away?
No.
What's going to happen to James?
I'm sure it's not as bad as you think.
I didn't do it, Zoe.
I know. I know.
What am I going to do?
you want me to stay?
Thanks, but I think I'd like to be by myself.
Are you sure?
I'm sure.
Okay, I'll see you tomorrow. Try and get some sleep.
Yeah. Yes, it's Kim Marchant. I've been trying to get hold of you all evening. Yes, all right, just listen to me. What we talked about the other day. It's on.
Ah, so it is you, Kim. Not that I can think of anyone else in the village who might have buried £190,000 in my father's grave. So, you've either got off scot-free, or you're trying to make a run for it. Well, hard luck. All that trouble you went to. And now I've got the money. And you're never going to see it again. Oh, Kim. I really wish I was there right now. Just so I could see the look on your face.
We're going a long way from here. Isn't that exciting? Yes, come on, darling. Oh, we don't want to be late. So we've got to say bye-bye to Uncle Chris, haven't we?
Hello, Kim. I was beginning to think you weren't coming. A whiskey, or would you prefer a G&T?
I haven't got time for this, Chris. What do you want?
Relax. Jury won't return a guilty verdict for several hours yet.
I know you've got my money, so stop playing games.
This isn't a game, I can assure you. No, you've got plenty of time. Unless there's somewhere else you've got to be. That is what you're planning to do, isn't it? Run away?
I want my money, Chris.
You shouldn't have danced on my father's grave. You buried him. Now I'm going to bury you.
I don't think so. I'm not going to let you stop me.
What are you going to do? Kill me? Go on. Come on, you're smarter than that, Kim. You can't get rid of me. It doesn't make sense.
Oh, it does to me.
If you want to get out of here, you need that money. But with the time you've got, you'll never find it. You need me, Kim. Must be so frustrating you were this close to getting away with it. You know, I watched you when you were here at my father's house. When you brought Glover in to sleep under his roof.
Jealous, were you?
And then when you moved in with Steve, started to play happy families. I kept watching you. You see, I knew it would have to happen again sometime. Your lies, your little games. You got away with murder. Not this time, though.
What do you want?
I don't know. I haven't quite decided yet.
You must want something. I mean, why am I here, Chris? What do you really want?
Actually, there is one thing. Let's say it's an act of redemption for both of us. Something to salvage from all the pain you've caused.
Just tell me what you want.
I want James.
You can't do this to me!
You haven't got time to argue. You give me James, I won't stop you leaving. I'll give you the money, I'll even help you pack.
I can't!
Look, if you go to prison, they'll take him away from you anyway.
Chris, I'm begging you. I'll give you anything else you want.
I want James.
But you can't...
You're not in a position to bargain, Kim. It is up to you, your choice.
You're just using James to get at me.
No, I'm doing it because I care about him. He's my brother.
He's my son!
After what you've done, you're not fit to be his mother. You made the rest of my family's life a misery. I'm not going to let you do the same to him.
I love him!
Like you love my father. James is the only thing left of his, the one thing that you didn't ruin. I'm not going to leave him with you. You killed his father.
Frank died of a heart attack.
No, I don't believe you.
Is the truth?
The truth is you'd say anything to save your neck. Now be a good girl and go and fetch my brother.
No!
Then you're going to jail. If you take James with you, he'll grow up wanting to know about his father. And then what? You'll find out the truth, and he'll end up hating you.
You're trying to buy him the same way Frank bought you and Zoe.
My father loved us.
I'd do anything for James. Frank wouldn't. Oh, he cared about his house and his money, but he didn't give a damn about you. There was only one person he ever loved. Me.
He hated you.
Oh, believe me, Chris, Frank loved me to death. But you couldn't stand it, could you? Feeling that jealous?
It wasn't jealousy.
You lost somebody you loved, and now you think it's my turn. The trouble is, you don't really want James.
Believe me, if it saves him from you, I do.
Saves him, or you. You lost somebody you loved, but it wasn't Frank, was it? It was me.
No.
Frank's gone now. There's nothing to stop you. What's the matter, Chris? It's what you've always dreamed about.
No.
Ever since you met me. It's always been me.
I hate you.
It's not hate. This is what it's all been about. You and me.
Please.
It's what you want. It's what we both want.
One lie too many, Kim. Do you really think I believe you?
Chris.
You want your money? Here. It's all you're worth. Keep the change. I used to wonder what went on in your head. If you ever thought about what you'd done, if you ever felt ashamed, or if you'd managed to bury every last scrap of decency in you. Well, now I know. I pity you.
Do you think I wanted it to be like this? I did what I had to because I didn't have any choice.
We all have choices.
You wouldn't understand. You've always had money. When I came here, I had nothing. You talk about choice, Chris, but when you haven't got any money, there aren't any choices.
So you think pleading poverty, it justifies what you did to us?
Come on, Chris. You loved it. All of you. Seeing just how far I'd go. You spent your whole life in the sidelines, watching me, just wishing it was you.
I wasn't envious. You could have had anything you wanted.
All I wanted was a house, a husband, and a child. A normal life just like everybody else. But I couldn't. None of you would let me. Not David. Not Frank. Not even Steve. You know, he was the one who came to me with the idea for the theft. I said I didn't want to, but it was no use. He didn't think of me as a wife. I was just an accomplice.
He loved you. They all did.
They didn't love me. They loved what they thought I was.
Oh, we all knew exactly what you were.
No, you didn't. You'd all made your minds up that I was the rich bitch. Well, that was it. I couldn't change. 'Cause you wouldn't let me. But I couldn't get out. It just went on and on. I thought if I left, James and I, we could forget the past, start again. James deserves another chance, even if I don't. And now it's too late. It's never going to end. I can't stand it. I can't stand it anymore.
That was quite a performance. You don't stop, do you? You almost had me fooled. Almost.
You think I... Don't you understand? It's over, Chris. You win.
Do you really expect me to feel sorry for you?
No. You're not capable of feeling anything, except hate.
For you? I guess we have to accept we're just not compatible. You say potato, and I say potato.
You are pathetic.
You see, it's those little things that irritate me. Like running Kathy down, killing my father. Call me picky, but they get in the way.
You know, I pity you.
It's not pity.
You'd even destroy your own brother. Truth is, you've got nothing in your life that's worth having.
Except my freedom. Speaking of which, it's rather late. Don't let me keep you. After all, it is your big day in court. You'll need your beauty sleep.
You're a fool, Chris. If you could have just let go of the past, you could have had anything. Maybe even me.
You think I'd ever believe that?
No, I don't. Because you'd have to think and feel like a normal person, and you don't. Not anymore.
Goodbye, Kim.
I guess I should thank you for making me choose.
Don't worry. I'm sure James will appreciate having a martyr in the family.
Oh, I'm sure he will.
Kill?
Where's the money? The money! Where is it? Oh. I am not in the mood for practical jokes. I want the key. Where is the key? Where is it? Do you want me to leave you there? Don't you think I would? Or shall I tell you a secret? You were right all along about Frank. I was there when he died. And I left him too. It was a heart attack. I didn't have to do a thing. See, that's the one good point about being married to an alcoholic. I don't fight back.
No.
I just left him to it. Sad, really. Poor old Frankie died of fright. Right in front of me. Right where you are now.
Please help me.
The key.
Whiskey.
How appropriate. Just like your father. He thought the key to life was in the bottom of a bottle.
Help me?
You know, you really shouldn't leave cash lying around the house. Nearly forgot.
Please.
You know, I'll miss you. It's been fun. I'll tell you what, there is one thing I can do for you that I couldn't do for Frank. Here. This one's on me. Bye, Chris. There's been a change of plan. Can you pick me up at location B? Front of home farm. Thanks.
Kim Marchant?
No. Kim Tate.
Hi, gorgeous.
What are you waiting in, Belch? It's only just gone off.
Oh, no.
I've been up half the night singing Beatles' back catalogue. I got to Sergeant Pepper before she nodded off.
Oh, Zach.
What's that for?
No reason. Well, I'll be...
Flippin' heck! I don't believe it! Oh, is she?
Tease up.
Right, an angel. Don't get this fixed, we could lose half the flock.
Just think, I could be in the warm with a nice hot cup of tea and the daily paper.
Instead of out here with me, eh?
The things you do for love.
What?
Apparently, the jury have reached a verdict.
What do you think it's gone?
It's hard to tell.
Well, surely Kathy's evidence must have done us some good.
We'll see.
Are you saying you think we've lost?
I'm saying that whatever happens, there's still hope. We have excellent grounds for an appeal.
That birdie.
It's as well to be prepared for the worst.
As long as Kim goes down with me,
I think I can face anything.
Don't worry.
Oh, hi. Where's Kim?
Isn't she here?
Well, she was supposed to come in with you.
Well, she wasn't at the house. I thought she made her own way in.
That must be it. We'll give her a few minutes before we start to worry, shall we?
It's not good enough. I've got people looking all
Where the hell is she?
It's only a few minutes. She'll be.
She would have phoned in, she.
Stand!
Right.
Your Honor, might I have a word?
All right.
Your Honor, I'm afraid Mrs. Marchant has yet to arrive in court.
Do we know why this is?
At the present moment, no, Your Honor.
Your Honour, given the stage of the trial, there's every likelihood that she's jumped bail.
Or she just might be stuck in traffic.
Your Honour, may I suggest that this might be an appropriate moment to issue an entry warrant to her house?
Mr. Derbyshire?
Is that not a little drastic, Your Honor?
Detective Inspector Spaulding, would you step forward, please?
She's gone. Don't believe it.
I'll take them out round the front. Right, let's have it down. Good. Clear. Right in.
Don't you worry, love. She may have done all the planning, but he's the one that hit you with the horse box, and he's not going anywhere.
You heard from Chris at all today? No. I've been trying to ring him and there's no reply. And so? Well, I just thought he would be here for this.
In view of the continued absence of the co-defendant, whilst inquiries are made as to her whereabouts, this court will adjourn until 2 o'clock.
All stand!
Found her car at Home Farm, Your Honour, but there was no sign of Mrs. Marchant. We put out on all ports. She won't get out of the country now.
If she hasn't gone already.
Will you be looking for another adjournment, Mr. Derbyshire?
I'd be rather inclined to hit the verdicts on both defendants now, Your Honour.
Be sharp. Bring in the jury.
What the hell's going on?
I'm afraid it appears she's jumped bail.
I knew it. And why the hell was she granted bail in the first place? So what happens now?
We hear the verdicts in her absence.
Oh, you've got to be kidding. Steve. Listen, she set the whole thing up and I'm sat here being stitched up while she gets away scot-free.
She won't get far.
She'll be in South America by now. She'll be spending my money while I rot in jail for her mistakes.
Don't panic. This could all work in your favor. You've played straight all along while she's looking guilty as sin. The judge will take this all into account.
Would the foreman of the jury please stand? Have you reached a verdict on which you are all agreed for all charges against the defendants?
We have.
To the charge of theft, do you find the defendant, Kim Marchant, guilty or not guilty? Guilty. To the charge of attempting to obtain money by deception, do you find the defendant, Kim Marchant, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
To the charge of attempted murder, do you find the defendant, Stephen Marchant, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Mrs. Glover.
Stand up, please, Mr. Marchant. As to the charges of theft and attempting to obtain money by deception, I have taken into account your guilty plea and your cooperation with the police, and I sentence you to 12 months for each charge. As to the more serious charge of attempted murder, I feel that I must make an example in such a case, and I'm sentencing you to 10 years. All sentences to run concurrently.
What? 10 years? You're mad. I didn't see her. I couldn't stop. There was nothing I could do.
Mr. Marchant, you are in contempt of court.
10 years? This isn't justice. Kim's the one to blame for this and she's getting away with it.
Take him down.
You've got the wrong person. Kim should be going to prison, not me. Get off. Find her. Let me go. Let me find her.
Take him down.
Them secateurs I sent for?
It was addressed to me.
Seth Armstrong, I hope you haven't been wasting your
Honest, no. It must be a present.
Aye, look, there's a card.
To the only mate I'll miss. Love, Kay.
Hey, must be Kim. Is she your secret admirer, Seth?
Hey, you can't keep it. It's from a criminal.
Yeah, that'll probably be place. Raiding the place.
Get rid of it.
Hard luck, mate. You'll have to dispose of the evidence.
I now know just where to put it.